Hi, everybody. Welcome to yet another Money Hour where I'm here from Team Lakshmi. You all know me very well. My name is Chanchal Saxena. I'm the assistant manager at Lakshmi. And I'm here to answer your questions today on the various types of mutual funds that we have. And out of those, we have selected today the goal oriented mutual funds for our life. Now, I can see there are a lot of questions about it, but I want to first tell you guys about the different types of goal oriented mutual funds that we have. So we can actually understand what exactly this whole fund is and the right questions that one can ask when it comes to these funds. So, the first thing about goal oriented mutual fund is that these mutual funds are specifically made or designed to cater to a specific goal. So, there are more than 2,500 mutual funds in the market, which we all know about. And SEBI had classified them in five major heads, out of which one of them is a goal oriented or solution oriented mutual fund. So here we have two types of solution oriented mutual funds. One is a children's plan mutual fund and one is a retirement plan mutual fund. Now one caters to your children's education, their and not just education but anything that they can use that money for in the future, and the other one is a retirement plan for senior citizens, for anybody who's planning their retirement and want to diversify their retirement fund portfolio itself. So these are the two funds that we have, but the one thing that people often get confused is that if it comes to these funds, are they individual funds, are they funds that specifically work for these things, or what, or how do they actually work? So I would like to tell you all that these funds have they actually the fund managers, what they do is they diversify these funds into various debt and equity funds that are out there, and they invest in certain portfolios, and these funds will cater to only these specific goals, and so they can actually benefit from equity, debt, anything which is out there, the right mutual funds that they can find, and that is how they generate returns, and these are the returns that are passed on to the investors. Now, when we talk about a children's plan, here the only difference is that it comes with a lock-in of 5 years. So when you invest in these funds, you cannot take out your money for 5 years, and that's why it's beneficial for the longer run. Now, if you want to withdraw your money, you can have a premature withdrawal, but again it will come with a very high penalty that is of 4%, and that is because they do not encourage you to take this money out at any cost. They want you to stay invested because this is the money that you can later use it for your children's education, their career, or whatever you want to use this money for. So it comes with a lock-in period of 5 years, which can extend up to 18 years of the child's age. It completely depends on you, and the biggest advantage in this is that it actually allows you to customize your portfolio as per your risk appetite. So if you are a conservative investor, you can have more of debt funds and less of equity, and if you are an investor who doesn't mind taking that kind of a risk, you can always increase your equity fund spectrum compared to your debt funds. So we have a question here from Tashi, and she's asking, do all AMCs offer these goal-based funds? So it can, you can always check. It's not sure if all of them offer them, but there are a lot of, and one of the top AMCs which provide these funds. So you can always check and see if the AMC that you want to invest your money is offering that kind of a fund for you. But rest assured that there are top AMCs which do offer these funds. Moving on to what these funds are. So the first one we have covered. Second is the pension fund. So the retirement fund is actually also known as pension fund. So if you hear this, don't get confused. You can hear it in these two different forms. Now, the retirement fund, it is actually a fund where you invest your money, where the total amount, the corpus that is generated, is actually received by the retiree upon the retirement, either in lump sum or in annuity. Now, if you take it in annuity, your purpose is solved even better, because then it allows you to have that regular source of income after your retirement. And if you take it in lump sum, then you can have the whole financial backup for yourself, but then again, the discipline is lost. Just in this case of retirement fund, uh, you can see that the investment, just one second. Yeah, so here the returns on these investment are up to 11%, and it is a great alternative to support your retirement fund compared to these other retirement plans that are out there, like PPF, NPS, EPF for those who are employed. Then APY is also an option there. If you are someone who wants to decide how much of your money you should invest in a retirement fund, and how much should you invest during your time, so that you can have enough corpus. Now, we have a lot of retirement calculators out there that you can explore, and which will actually help you understand it better, what is the corpus you would require. But still, a basic thumb rule, a quick solution if you want to understand how much you should invest in your current age, so that after your retirement your corpus is not falling short of money. All you can do is calculate your monthly expense, multiply it by 12 to understand your expenses in a complete year. Annually, what are your expenses? And every year, add the inflation component to it. So whatever amount you have, that is the amount you will get. You will be investing over the years, and you will understand that this is the corpus that you might require for the next X many years that you would require your fund. But if it's too technical, it's too complicated for you, you can always sort to the retirement calculators and make use of it. Now, one of the greatest advantage of investing in retirement fund is that whatever annuity you receive, whatever funds you receive, they are all, most of them are always inflation adjusted. So whatever the returns are, they're always given considered in mind the inflation rate out there. So you are actually investing in an instrument which is also taking care of your inflation. So that is another great thing about these investments. Now, talking about the taxability of both the child's plan and the retirement fund. So in your children's plan, whatever you are contributing is exempted up to 1,50,000 under your section 80C. These funds, if marked as gift to their children by the parents or the guardians, will be again tax exempted. Then you have the interest on these funds, the interest that is generated from the debt component, it is completely tax exempted. Now, if in your interest, the interest exceeds 6,500 annually, then per child you can have an exemption of up to rupees 1,500 under section 10, subsection 32. And whatever returns you generate on these funds, they are subjected to capital gains, but again they come with indexation benefits. So that is one great benefit that you get in your children's fund plan. Talking about the retirement fund, here your contribution is exempted under section 80CCC for up to rupees 1.5 lakh. And it also includes not just your buying of the plan, but also renewing your plan for extending the services that they provide. The disbursement of your corpus, that is the total corpus that you get after the end of this plan, that is subject to tax depending on certain factors. If you're a government employee, if you're a non-government employee, if you as a retiree is collecting the whole corpus, or your dependents are actually collecting that corpus. So these things are what make the difference, and they will also determine the tax that you'll be liable to pay. Now, in retirement plan, there are different types of retirement plans. One is your classic retirement plan, where you majorly invest in a debt portfolio, and through that you are generating returns. Second is a unit linked plan, which is also known as a combination of equity and debt, where your market returns and your asset returns are actually impacting your returns that are generated. And one is an NPS, which people often get confused how an NPS works. So in an NPS, you invest in debt, but you also get a component of equity, and therefore the returns on NPS is always higher as compared to a PPF or something, because this equity component helps them generate even greater returns. So here again, you will be investing in debt, but a lot of the component goes in equity, and you are given the option to choose which what kind of an allocation you want. So here we have covered the basics of your child plan and your retirement plan. If you have any questions regarding these, you can always shoot. Whereas we have certain other questions that we had received. So I'll like to answer those now. So one question we received from Dhanya Pradeep, and she asked, I want to know if I plan to retire after 20 years and my net salary now is 50K, how much should I keep aside now for monthly SIP for maintaining the same lifestyle? So great question, Danya. Again, this question is something that I've answered while explaining that you can either use the thumb rule to determine what kind of return you would need by that time. But I would suggest always rely on a retirement calculator. They consider all your things like your lifestyle, your expenses, and they also calculate the inflation factor and help you determine and arrive to a ballpark figure more accurately than what you can do through your own numbers and calculations. So always go for a calculator. It will help you understand how much amount of SIP you can start, and which will benefit you to sustain a lifestyle that you are currently living. Next question we have from Lavina Rodriguez, and she's asking, what are the options available for investment if you are an NRI? So again, a question which we get a lot on the community. So a lot of NRIs are thinking that if they can invest in Indian instruments, if changing their residential state is going to impact their investments. So I would like to tell you that Indian instruments, there are majority of the instruments allow foreign investors to invest in them. Yes, there are certain complications which can be resolved by opting to accounts like an NRE account, NRO account, a foreign exchange currency account, so that your process is done is even smoother when it comes to investment. But you can invest in a lot of, so mutual funds is one of the most amazing option if you want to go for it. Then there are, so I'll tell you, there are various options out there. In fact, what I'll do is I'll just list down those options in the comment section of the Money Art thing, or in fact in the same chat of this live, where we have actually made a whole post considering all the options where you can invest as an NRE and sorry, as an NRI, and you can check that out. And if you have any questions on that, then we can always reconnect and I'll answer you for on that one. Then we have one more question here that is from Shikha Sharma, who's asking how to know whether the mutual funds offered by any bank, person, or any financial advisor in the names of long-term goals like child's education or the retirement are actually good or safe to invest, in seeing the probability of getting duped if the funds don't work as promoted. Are there any parameters to check if before following the suggestions given by the aforementioned people, on one should follow the advice blindly? So Shikha, one thing that I think should remain constant is that you should never ever consider any advice blindly. Like, I cannot emphasize on how important it is to understand where you're putting your money, where your money is going, how much you're going to get in return. See, there are instruments which are not going to tell you the amount promised because they depend on the markets. But again, you can always compare the historical returns to understand what kind of a future return it will give you. So when you come across funds like the children's plan or a retirement plan that is suggested by an advisor, First, what you can do is you can always check if investing in these plans are going to be more beneficial, or investing individually in different equity and mutual fund is going to give you more returns. Because at the end, even these instruments are investing in the same, securities that you will do individually. So you can always do that comparison to understand which one is better. Second, again, these mutual funds are very safe when you talk about investing in the mutual fund itself, because these are all regulated, they are all registered. So, no mutual fund is going to take your money and run away. So, in that sense, it's not at all risky. But if you're worried about the returns, you can always compare your schemes. And I have mentioned this before in our various other sessions also, that there are various things that you can consider while comparing these returns. So for your categories, you can always check what sector it is investing in, what type of a mutual fund it is, the goals that you have, what is your risk appetite, what is your investment horizon. And when you come to select the individual policy, you can always see the AMC performance, the AMC's track records, the past performance of the funds that you, this fund scheme that you want to invest in, that scheme's performance against the benchmark. So child's plan has a benchmark against Nifty. So you can always compare the performance against Nifty and check if that scheme is doing good or not. And similarly, there are various other things that you can, as a fundamental analysis, do to identify if your plan is correct or not. But yes, I would say that an advisor may or may not have a biased opinion when it comes to selling instruments. So just make sure that whichever advisor you're referring to is unbiased. It's not, he's not selling, he or she is not selling you just that particular AMC's fund scheme, and is actually allowing you to compare. So that is one thing. And if you still are not sure, Google out the top performing instruments and then always compare them against the other. Check the benefits it is offering you, so you know it's catering to your needs, and then you can always go ahead and make your investments. So I think that answers the question, Shikha. Now we have a couple more questions here, and one of them is by Shri, who says, if I want to use my money back in 1 year, then which kind of mutual fund SIP should I consider? Debt or equity? So, okay, let's break it down and understand it even better. So if you want your money back in 1 year, that means your goal is an ultra short term goal. You have determined the time horizon of your investment. So that is an indication that you need to invest in something which will not be too volatile, so that your capital is not at risk. It is highly liquid, so that it can be liquidated earlier and you can have your funds back in time. Now, this is possible in the case of a debt mutual fund. So, debt mutual funds allow high liquidity since they are for a shorter period, and they have lower risk because they are less volatile. And the averages, the returns are average. They're not too high like equity mutual funds, but compared to the volatility, the averages are, returns are quite average and good. So this has some, like filtered out your question from equity and debt, and you know that debt is the right option to go for now. Now when you say that mutual fund where I should start with an SIP, so it's good that you know that you should go for an SIP. But for those who are not sure if once you select your fund, if you should go through an SIP method or through a lump sum method, which is a one shot direct payment, always know that one shot works best if you can time the market, or if you just have that one sum of money and you know that you can't stick to a regular payment cycle. Like, you know that after 3 months I'm not going to pay it, I won't have that inflow of money to pay or continue that SIP. In that case, always go for a lump sum. But if you're a person who don't want to risk their capital, who wants to average out the losses of the portfolio over the time, you can always go for an SIP and make regular payments. While opting for your SIP, be sure you're selecting which kind of an SIP you want to go for. If it's a flexi SIP where you can change the amount of money that you deposit which is deducted from your account every month, or like whatever time interval you've selected, or it's a standard SIP. Great. So now we have the next question by Shreya, and she says, I'm a student. Which platform is good for me to invest? I don't have big digits, but little sum of my savings. So great. One thing I really appreciate that you are starting soon, you're starting young, and I think that is one thing that is going to give you the maximum benefit, because the earlier you start, the more benefits you have, the more compounding plays in your favor. And coming to the question that which platform is good for you to invest, in that case I would say that any platform which is easier for you to understand in terms of the user interface, uh, in terms of the services that they provide, or in terms of the options that they provide you. So if a platform is allowing you to compare amongst policies, it's not just promoting certain sum, then that is one that you can go for. But if you're a newbie who doesn't understand which particular fund to pick or how to filter out, even after watching our videos twice or thrice, you're still confused and want a head start to start with your investments, you can always start with an application where you are getting a little heads up, and they are hand holding you with your investment. So for example, in case of Lakshmi, we have some tailored portfolios uh, which are actually meant for your goals, like a short term goal or a long term goal, ultra short term goal. If you want to go for gold, then gold savings fund, or it also allows you to invest in SGB. If you want to save tax, then a tax saving fund. So in such cases, you are being handheld and you are not being left out to experiment on your own. So in such a case, such app is good for you. Again, one more thing, please be mindful that these apps are not being costlier to you, they are not heavy on your pockets, and that is when you'll know that you're making the right choice, because we don't want to lose out on money while trying to make more money, because then it doesn't make a lot of sense. Great. So let's see what other questions we have. Just a second. So we have a question here which asks us, just a second. Okay, so we have a question which says that who should invest in a child's plan and who should go for a normal mutual fund. Now, if you are someone, like I said, who doesn't understand picking the right investment instruments, who is not sure which equity or debt instrument you should pick, or what proportion you should pick to ensure that your portfolio is secured for the longer run, in that case you can always opt for a child's plan, because one, the returns are really good. The returns are somewhere around 7.87%, and these are tailor portfolios, so they have a set of equity and debt funds which are going to cater to such needs. And then again, if you're someone who's capable of liquidating the assets too quick if they are in need of money, and you want to make sure that you're not using out the money that you have saved for your kid, because again the returns will get hampered if you break a certain period of the compounding period. So in that case, you can always opt for instruments which are liquid enough, or which are illiquid, and have some kind of a lock into it, so that you're not going out of your way to take out that money. And as far as someone who is who understands the market, who understands how mutual funds work, who have experimented enough and knows that, okay, if I my combination of these equity and these debt funds are going to give me a higher return, why not do it yourself? And see, discipline is something that you need to have it from yourself. You have to make sure that finance is a topic where you are disciplined enough, because if like some people, you just forget what you want to do with your money and you just splurge, it's not the right thing to do. And trust me, I'm saying that from experience. You should not just splurge out your money. So I hope that answers the question. Now we have another question from Aisha, who says how to invest in short and long term both together. Okay, great, Aisha. So again, your short term is okay. So let's just learn it this way. When we talk about ultra short term, it's a debt fund. If we talk about short term, it's a combination of debt and equity. And if it's a long term, it's highly equity and a little bit of debt to ensure capital protection to your capital. So to invest in short and long term, you need to have a you need to have a portfolio where you have debt assets as well as equity assets. And how much to invest, again we have this thumb rule where whatever is your age is the investment that needs to go in debt mutual funds or debt securities or fixed income securities, and 100 minus your age is what you can explore in the equity segment. So if you are 22 today, 78% can go into equity. But again, depending on your risk appetite, you need to be sure that if you're investing that 78 in equity, you're okay doing that. Like you're not having sleepless nights wondering that, oh, is my money safe, is it not. If you think that you need to keep more in debt, you can always customize and just move that line here there, and understand how much you need to invest in which segment. So that is how you can actually invest in both together by diversifying your portfolio in equity and debt. Oh wow, we have another question from Aisha again, and she says, how can I segregate my goals? So a good question, Aisha, and I think it's very important that people need to understand that before investing. So investing is a big step, okay? Like investing is a big step when we talk about when you're investing for your goals. Because if you blindly invest, suppose I want to have money for some xyz thing that is going to happen in the next 6 months, and I end up investing in an ELSS with a lock-in of 3 years, I'm just gonna sit and think, what have I done? What was I thinking? So if you're, investing for your goals, always make sure that you have made a plan, you have done some research, you have done some thinking before selecting the instruments that you're planning. So when you say, I want to segregate my goals, write down your goals. Create the hierarchy which is in terms of priority. Highest priority is first, and then the rest follows. And then see if in which time period you need it. If you have like 4 goals, this one is the highest important, then the next. So this one you need to achieve in 4 months, this one you need to achieve in 1 year, this one you need to achieve in 2 years, this one you need to achieve in 3 years. Now for this you need to have a portfolio, for this you need to have another portfolio, for this you need to have another portfolio, for this you need to have another. So for a short term, like a 4 month, you can always invest in ultra short term mutual funds, which consist of overnight funds, liquid funds, and you can always go for for a short term fixed deposit, a high yield savings bank account. That is a bank account which has a really good interest rate, which is more than 6.5% in today's state at least. For the next goal, again, if it's a 1 year, you can play a little bit with the equity segment. So you can experiment with the arbitrage fund and a debt mutual fund. Then for your 3 years, you can actually explore the whole equity segment. So you can go for like full on equity mutual funds plus some debt instruments, and accordingly you can start investing for your funds. So I think that helps you understand how we segregate funds and invest in them. So next we have a question from Shri. Oh no, sorry, I have answered this one. The next question is, sorry, it's from, okay, I can't see the name here, but I'll just read out the question. Based on my income, what percentage should go in investing? So for that, first I need to know what your income is. And I don't want to sound rude asking you what your income is. But I will suggest you one basic rule of budgeting, which tells us that whatever is your total income, and when I say income, it doesn't mean just your salary, okay? Your income can be your salary any pocket money that you receive from your parents or anyone for that matter. Like my brother gives me money, so that if you have any rent income, if you if you have invested in some instruments which is giving you a monthly payout, so everything is going to constitute as your income. Out of that income you can have 50% going towards your utilities, that is your for sure happening expenses for the month. 30% you can always splurge, because I think it's kind of psychologically related that if you are too restricted onto something, you often tend to do the other way around. Like if you are dedicated that from tomorrow I'm going to work out, I'm going to stick to a diet, I'm going to do my exercise, maybe tomorrow's the day you won't do it at all. So you can have a 30% of a little splurge, and 20% should for sure go in your savings. Now if you're a person who is who's money mindful, and you understand the importance of money, and you know that you don't have a lot of splurges. Now if you're sitting home, you're not going to go out, you don't need to spend on shoes and clothes and cosmetics, then just let it be. In that case you can always customize and make the 30% into savings and the 20% into your splurges. And accordingly, if you're a person who like for me, I don't have any utilities to pay for, I'm still living with my parents, I don't have any bills, so in that case my utilities can be 20%, and my major of the savings can go for my major of the funds can go towards savings of 50% or 60% in fact. So that is how you can always customize, and I think that's the beauty of finance, that you can just do it for yourself the way you want it to be. Okay, great. Now we have one more question. Can I have 2-3 portfolios on the Lakshmi app for different goals? Absolutely, absolutely. So like how I suggested, you can have multiple goals, multiple priorities and portfolios for each. I think Lakshmi is the best app for that, because when you know ki A is my ultra short term goal, B is my long term goal, C is my short term goal, D is my tax saving goal, Lakshmi is giving you those planned portfolios. So I think you can go for it. Again, not selling. You can always check it out, compare, and understand if it's right for you. Okay, next we have, is it worth investing for a year short-term goal? The returns aren't good, right? So okay, I'll ask a question to you. In fact, do you think putting your money in an instrument which can make your 10,000 into 10,700 better, or is it better to keep the 10,000 with you and have 10,000 at the end of a year? I think it answers itself, right? So any instrument that can grow your money even a little bit, provided you are not locking yourself into any instrument, there are no it's not wearing down your liquidity, it's not costing you anything, only then I think why not invest your money, even if it's for a period of 5 days, 10 days or 15 days. Because I think we need to understand that wealth creation does not happen in a day. It is going to take time, and wealth creation won't happen uh, drastically. Like in our planner, we have mentioned this one thing, that you should have realistic goals, that if I want to invest, 1,000 today, your returns need to be in line with that. You can't expect investing 1,000 today and expecting 3 crores in a year. Santa Claus is not running the financial market. So I think in that case, if you want to invest short or ultra short, you should, because for that reason we have the instruments which are supporting these terms, right? I mean, if investing for a 7-day won't make any sense, then why do we have an express FT which allows you to invest for 7 days? Or why do we have an overnight fund which gives a maturity of 1 day? So there is a purpose for it, and I think it's good that we can explore it and make money out of it, because at the end I think everything is for wealth creation. So that being said, I think I have answered the questions that I have as of now to answer your question. So if you have any more questions, not just related to the topic we're doing, but any question, please feel free to send it to us and we'll be happy to address them. So great. I think we can wrap up for today. And thank you so much for today's for the audiences who joined us today for sending in your questions. It was great answering them. And I hope every one of you is safe and happy at home. Please take care of your families and of yourself. And we shall see you soon. Bye.